So this video, we're going to be talking about absolute value inequalities dealing with or statements. So now you're dealing with greater than. And how I remember is like a trick or a clever way to remember it is it's great or than. So I always remember great or than. So it's great or than to remember that. So we have less than or great or than. So think about that. When you're trying to solve this. So anytime you have a greater sign, okay, greater than or less, or greater than or equal to, you're going to then solve by using or statements. So if I notice it's a greater than symbol, I have my absolute value by itself, so I can make my two equations. So I'm going to have x is greater than 2 or x is less than -2. So I always write the equation just as if I would see it with the absolute value by itself. I'd write my or statements because it's great or greater than, and then I have x is less than -2. So I'm going to make an open circle on -2, an open circle on 2. So I want numbers that are less than -2, which is going to face this way. I need numbers that are greater than 2, which is going to face to the right. So I'm going to write my interval notation. I read left to right, so I have -infinity, comma 2 with a parenthesis. I have my union symbol, which is going to stand for or. And then I have 2, comma, a positive infinity, and then a parenthesis because there's always a parenthesis next to the infinity symbol. So this next one, it says solve each inequality and graph the solution. Well, my first thing always is to make sure the absolute value is by itself. So in this case, the absolute value is not by itself yet. So I have to add 24 to both sides. So I have the absolute value of x is greater than a 3, a positive 3. Now the absolute value is by itself on the left side, so I can make my two equations. So I have x is greater than 3 or x is less than -3. So I'm going to have an open circle on -3, an open circle on 3. I want numbers that are greater than 3, so I want all of the ones to the right. I want numbers that are less than -3. I want all numbers to the left. So my interval notation is going to be a -infinity with a parenthesis next to that, comma, a -3. I'm going to write down that union symbol because that's standing for or. And then I'm going to have 3, comma, a positive infinity with a parenthesis. So that would be my interval notation. My next one is x. The absolute value of x minus 3 plus 5 is greater than or equal to 6. Well, right now I notice that my absolute value is not by itself yet. What's in its way is that plus 5. So I have to get rid of that before I can make my two equations. So I have to subtract 5 on both sides. So the absolute value of x minus 3 is greater than or equal to a positive 1. Now, I notice that I have my absolute value of x minus 3, which is now by itself on the left-hand side. So I'm going to make my two equations. I have x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 1, or x minus 3 is less than or equal to -1. So now I'm going to solve both sides. So I have plus 3 plus 3. So I have x is greater than or equal to 4, or I'm going to add 3 on both sides. X is less than or equal to 2. So I need a closed circle on 2, a closed circle on 4. So I need numbers that are greater than or equal to 4, which is all to the right. I need numbers that are less than or equal to 2, so which is all to the left. So my interval notation is going to be -infinity, comma, 2 with a bracket, union, a bracket, 4, comma, an infinity, and a parenthesis.